What's incredible about this list is that in the month of August, BYD actually improved its sales by 5% versus the month of July. This list is from July. It delivered an incredible 276,000 fully electric cars and plug-in hybrids, mostly in China, in August. Chinese media have today printed that BYD has become the 5th largest automaker in the world this year. 5th largest in the world. That's quite an incredible achievement. Is this actually true? Are they celebrating too early? Or do they have a point? Do they now have the 5th largest automaker in the world? Now, this has never happened before in Chinese history. The Chinese, in fact, have never had a top 10 automaker, let alone top 5. However, the facts are a little different to what the media are reporting. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. So, the biggest automakers in the world, or of course, Volkswagen Group, not the Volkswagen brand, the Volkswagen Group of, 20 companies or whatever it is. They are generally the best-selling car brand. Them or Toyota. This year, Toyota is clearly leading. In July of 2023, Toyota had 10% of the global car market. Now, you all know what I think about Toyota's future. Remember when Nokia had like 50% of the global phone market? What do they have now? Yeah, well, that's where I see things going for Toyota, but that's a whole different story. Second, Volkswagen with 6.6%. Third, says China, was Honda with 5%. Fourth was Ford with a staggering 4.9%. Fifth then was BYD with 4.7%. Then we have Hyundai with 4.3%. Suzuki with 4.1%, Chevrolet or General Motors with 3.8%, Kia with 3.7%, and Nissan with 3.5%. So those numbers come from CNF Post, they come from TrendForce. TrendForce is basically saying that BYD is very close to becoming the 3rd largest automaker in the world. I mean, if you look at that, 4.7% versus 5% for Honda. Now, of course, these numbers they're just sort of made up. When I say they're made up, well, they're made up in 2 different ways. Number 1, there's no Stellantis in this group. Now, Stellantis is not a car brand. That's true. They're an automaker. And you can't have a list and a graph saying the world's top 10 automakers and not include Stellantis. Now, obviously, Stellantis would be in 3rd place if you were to add them to this list. The other thing is here that obviously the Kia and Hyundai brands, if you put them together, they would be in either 3rd or 4th place, depending on Stellantis' numbers in July. However, Kia and Hyundai have been listed separately, but if you add them up together, they have 8% market share, meaning they in fact sold more cars in the month of July worldwide than the Volkswagen Group did, which is quite a staggering result. Now, there's a little problem here with some of these automakers though, and that in particular includes Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, Suzuki, and Nissan. Now, these companies sell a large percentage of their cars in China. And, well, to be fair, none of them actually make them themselves. They're contract manufactured for them. So, yeah, technically they have a 50-50 joint venture. They own 50% of the company. The Chinese company owns 50% of the company. Even though the Chinese company basically do the manufacturing and organize everything, it is a joint venture. But the thing is it really fair for Toyota, Volkswagen, or Nissan to say, and Honda in fact, to say that all the cars that their Chinese joint venture partner makes for them are actually Toyotas? Are they really? Is that really a fair way to say this? Or are they Chang'an Toyotas, as they're called in China? Or are they JAC Volkswagens? Or, yeah, you see my point here. The only one of these automakers here in this list that does not have any joint ventures at all is BYD. BYD, in fact, sells more cars here in a way than what it looks like, because pretty much every Toyota that's sold, that's electric, not every one of them, but most of them actually that are sold in China have a BYD battery pack, a Blade battery pack. They have BYD motors, they have BYD software, they have BYD battery monitoring systems. And then, of course, Tesla also used BYD Blade batteries in the Tesla Model Y sold in Europe. Not all of them, but a large number of them. So, to some degree here, BYD's numbers are being undersold, and the numbers from these global legacy automakers are being oversold. And the media has always done this. The media have never, ever said, full credit, full disclosure here. These sales numbers include joint venture partnerships where this car company might even own less than 50%. For example, General Motors owns 1/3 of their partnership with SAIC and, of course, Wuling. Now, that said, I still think this list is quite interesting, isn't it? Because by the end of this year, these numbers will change. BYD and China. Why do I say they'll change? Well, fourth quarter of the year, sales are generally 3 times higher than the first quarter of the year. Now, of course, these numbers are for July. However, sales in November and December are usually double what they are in July in China. That's the historical average. So the reality is here, BYD could have up to 10% of the global car market in terms of sales in the month of November and in the month of December. Now, I say that with a grain of salt because that's not obviously car conglomerates. Like, of course, in this list, we don't see the Nissan, Renault, and Mitsubishi alliance here. They're all listed separately, but actually they are an alliance. So technically, they're generally listed together. But I think this list is actually probably more reasonable than putting them together because a lot of these kind of groupings are very complicated. We don't easily understand how the alliance works. Or Stellantis, or their many brands, how exactly does that all work? No one really seems to know. Now, what is brilliant about this is BYD are the only manufacturer in this top 10 list that sell only electric cars and plug-in hybrids. So they're pretty much home and host. When I say that, yes, they have some quality problems that they need to sort out. There's no question about that. But that's particularly limited to their plug-in hybrid cars, which I don't think they plan on selling outside of China at all. So they need to fix that issue in China. But for the EVs that they're sending outside of China, well, they're all only electric cars, and they seem to have pretty good reliability. They're purely electric cars. So looking at BYD sales, this year they have sold 1.8 million cars total from January to August. Now, of those cars, just over 50% were fully electric. Around 49% were plug-in hybrids. By the end of this year, there's a good chance BYD will be one of the probably 7th or 8th biggest automaker in the world based on the groupings. If you base it on the individual brand listing like this, it could possibly even jump up to 3rd place worldwide. BYD is growing at an incredibly fast rate. Its competition, all these other manufacturers in this list, they kind of have their ups and downs, their good months, their bad months. In general, they haven't really changed much at all over the past 12 months. However, all of them are losing market share and sales in China, and that will only speed up over the coming years. Now, that does matter because the Chinese car market makes up 1/3 of all cars sold worldwide. 28 million of the approximately 80 million cars sold every year are sold in China. Therefore, considering BYD dominates the Chinese car market, pretty likely that BYD, if anything, will continue to grow at an incredibly fast pace. Now, combine that with the fact that BYD are now exporting more cars worldwide than they ever have before, and the fact that they reached 10% of all cars in the month of July being exported, and the fact that they reached a milestone in the month of July, which is a pretty good result for them. 10% of all cars that they sold in the month of July were exported. Now, that's a new record for the company. It does mean that 90% of their cars are still sold in China. But by the time we get to, say, 2030, I will expect that around 50% of their cars will be sold in China and around 50% in the probably 40 or 50 countries that they plan on selling their cars in all around the world. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means, in my opinion, BYD will be one of the 2 biggest automakers in the world by the end of the decade. As you guys know, I think the other one will be Tesla. So this list will look very, very different in 5 to 7 years' time. Thank you for watching.